It has been long said that in order to reach the highest point in life, one must work with a true passion, strive to be the absolute best, and relentlessly climb all the way to the summit, which stands alone at the very top. These core beliefs and values have always been deeply rooted into the heart of Summit Treestands. Summit, a history of excellence.
Hardcore hunters like myself demand a tree stand that is safe, for one, secure, which equals safe, lightweight, easy to set up, and quiet. With my Summit, I get all that, plus comfortable.
Dedicated hunters have always been and always will be the driving force behind Summit. In fact, the very first Summit tree stand was meticulously crafted inside of a hunter's garage back in the late 1960s. John Waller, who is better known as Big John, loved hunting whitetails from the treetops near his home in Alabama, but he was unsatisfied with the early manufactured tree stands that were available at the time.
In the early 60s, I was a young project engineer over at NASA, working first of all on the Saturn I and then the Saturn V. I was in meetings with Dr. von Braun and all of his German staff, but I did learn early on the real techniques that are needed to handle aluminum in structural application.
At that time, there was just maybe one or two climbing tree stands on the market, and he always wanted something better in everything that he used or he built. And so he started doing some designs with various types of climbing tree stands.
John was a serious bow hunter and the father of 3 young boys. He wanted a climbing tree stand that was quick, silent, comfortable, and most of all, safe for him and his sons to hunt from. Word of mouth traveled quickly, and before long, all of his hunting buddies and neighboring hunters were beating on John's door, wanting to purchase one of his custom-made climbers. These early prototypes helped build the foundation of a tree stand company that has since revolutionized the outdoor industry.
Yeah, when Big John Waller came out with the Summit tree stand, you know, everybody in the industry knew that we needed something like this, but there was nothing like it on the market.
I guess I built one every year for 10 years, and I finally ended up with one that I knew it was secure, it was comfortable, it was camouflaged, and it was quiet. It was 1981, and that's when we started.
In a short period of time, hunter testimonials about a new climbing stand that was unlike anything on the market began to spread like a wildfire, far beyond founder Big John Waller's home in rural Alabama. John kept his job at NASA and built stands with his boys in his spare time. But the orders piled up. John and his sons found themselves spending all their nights and weekends in the garage building what many believed to be the best climbing tree stand on the market.
Well, once this thing took off a little bit, I think the first year I sold maybe a couple hundred, but then it started taking off. People saw what this thing could do for them, the value of the tree stand.
Big John Waller was a bow hunter, and he knew from day one exactly what he wanted in a tree stand. So he wanted to make sure the stand was going to be strong and rock solid. He wanted to make sure it was light and easy to pack. He didn't want to get busted at that moment of truth, so he knew that stand had to be whisper quiet, even under changing weather conditions.
There was a personal aspect to what we did with Summit as well, because obviously with my brothers and I hunting with my dad, he wanted to make sure that we had a tree stand that was built to his standards so that his sons would be safe when they were climbing up 15 feet or so in a tree stand.
Big John knew he had built the ultimate climbing stand, and the hunters strongly believed his product had the potential to change the way people hunt. He felt that hunters in his tree stands would be much safer, quieter, and more comfortable, which translates to more close encounters with top-heavy bucks, season after season.
When Summit tree stands first came out, they're a little more pricey than other tree stands, but after hunting and all the other competitors, I didn't mind paying a few extra dollars.
We were not going to make a cheap product, and we were not going to make a product that we could just have horrendous profit margins on. We wanted to make a quality product that would actually help the hunter. Of course, we had to have profit to stay in business, but our big motive was quality and performance, and that's what really made us grow.
From the very beginning, Summit has always been hunter-focused and driven by quality, not increasing profit margins or cutting costs. Big John set the standard of quality for Summit tree stands years ago, and we still operate on that same concept today.
You know, years ago when we tried to get in trees to bow hunt, you had to carry plywood in, you had to carry 2x4s in, get up in the darn trees. There was no, at that point in time, we didn't have any of the climbing belts to fasten ourselves up for nailing stuff up to the tree. It was really dangerous. Thank God for Big John and the Summit tree stand. When he came out with that, I mean, that changed the whole picture.
It didn't take very long for people to realize that it was worth spending a few dollars more to get the massive jump in quality that came with purchasing a Summit stand. Eventually, the demand for Big John stands became more than what the NASA engineer and his family could keep up with in their small garage.
There's an ad on television now that tells the businesses that were started in garages. These are huge worldwide businesses. Well, ours did the same thing. I can remember the first orders that we got, we were hand painting them, and we were outside, and if the weather was damp, we'd take hair dryers and dry the paint.
Of course, I was still working full time, and my wife, Pat, would go down and load the UPS, help load the UPS trucks down at a little warehouse we had. And of course, my daughter-in-law, she had an accounting degree, and she was a CPA, and she kept our books, and we had the whole family utilizing their talents and their skills and their education to keep the company going.
John decided to move the fledgling company out of the garage and into a larger and better equipped manufacturing facility. It was time for John Waller and his family to take Summit tree stands to a whole new level.
You know, I always liked a family-owned business and somebody that worked together as a family. And these all were hunters and engineers. And buddy, they dotted I's and crossed the T's on their product.
Following the guidelines of quality construction, superior design, comfort, dependability, and most importantly, safety, Big John and his family were able to take Summit to the very top of the tree stand industry. Any hunter who has ever climbed into a Summit tree stand on a cool fall morning can probably tell you all about their favorite features. How a combination of quality materials and superior design makes Summit one of the quietest and lightest weight stands on the market.
I love all of my Summit stands, and back when I first started deer hunting when I was a kid, one of the first stands I ever bought was a Summit, you know, and one of the biggest deals with that, obviously, it's safe. You owe it to your family, your friends, to put yourself in the safest tree stand possible. That's why I always choose Summit.
We were actually the first company to offer a free harness with the climbing tree stand. And that of course opened people's eyes, the competitors as well.
Big John was one of the founders for Tree Stand Manufacturers Association. He also helped in writing all the standards that are used today.
We put together some standards that everyone would have to adhere to. There would be tests involved, and they would have to be what we called certified to meet these standards.
As you can see, Summit has always placed tree stand safety at the top of their priority list. The workers in the factory, they're hunters themselves, and they understand how important it is to give extra care to each and every stand that comes off the assembly line.
When he worked for NASA in Huntsville, he worked on Dr. Von Braun's team there, and they were putting a man on the moon, so obviously safety was foremost importance there. He felt the same way about anybody who was going to use the tree stand that he had designed. He made certain that every precaution that could be taken was there to assure a hunter, if he used the stand properly, of his safety.
In the early 1980s, tree stand hunters had no access to a complete 4-point safety harness. At that time, most tree stand safety devices were somewhat primitive in their design, complicated to put on, and very uncomfortable to wear. Most hunters didn't use them, and those who did often wore them wrong, at times resulting in more harm than good. This is exactly why a hardcore hunter, Keith Jones, designed the Seat of the Pants, the world's first 4-point safety harness for hunters. His very first prototype radically revolutionized the concept behind tree stand safety devices and ultimately changed how we think about hunting safety.
Back in 1992, I was always concerned about safety. We hunted for years. I probably shouldn't even say this, but we hunted for years without any kind of safety equipment at all. The only thing that was available was belts that you could put around your waist or ropes that you tied on. And then eventually a company came out with just a little chest harness. If you were to fall with any of that on, even the chest harness, all that was going to pull up into your chest, basically cut your air off, and you can't breathe. So I kind of thought, you know, that's something that we really need in this industry. I started working on trying to design a product that was going to fit that need.
During the early stages, Keith soon found out that designing a completely new tree stand safety harness was going to be anything but easy. With many of his first designs, the determined hunter would field test the prototypes in the field himself. This usually involved Keith strapping in and bravely jumping out of a tree.
The only way I knew to test them was to actually physically myself put the harness on, sew them up, get them ready to go, and then jump out of a tree. Needless to say, there was a number of times that I couldn't get back up in the tree stand fast enough because the straps were in the wrong positions and things like that. It's kind of the way that the seat of the pants was originated, was just simply by, there was a need for it, and we wanted to have a product that a hunter could use, and it was not going to be constricting to him, and it was going to be safe. If he happened to fall, it was going to do the job.
I've used a lot of harnesses in my day, but the seat of the pants is my favorite, mainly because it fits comfortable, it fits under every jacket I got, and it's very safe. And the one thing that I've got to have a feeling for is safety and comfort when I get in a stand.
When Keith Jones invented the first 4-point safety harness, he hit on something big. His wife and hunting buddies that used his new harness were convinced he had designed the ultimate tree stand safety device. They encouraged him to begin promoting and selling his 4-point safety harness.
But we went to a lot of consumer shows, and at one of these shows, we saw a hunting buddy over there in Huntsville, Keith Jones, and he had a harness, and he would just jump out of it. He was using a Summit tree stand. He'd jump out of that stand in that harness at these shows, and it really got our attention.
Going to these outdoor shows, how do you catch people's attention? The first few shows I did, we just stood on the ground and talked to folks when they walked by, but we really weren't doing anything. And so what I decided to do was we actually brought a tree into the shows, and I was able to put a stand up about 6 feet off the ground and get up in that tree stand. So what I would do is I would talk to some folks and stuff, and as I talked to them, I would hook up and I'd climb up the tree and I'd stand up there and I'd be talking to them, and then I'd jump out of the tree. And my God, you talk about some catching people's attention real quick. And then I'd just kind of be hanging there and I'd just be talking to them when I was hanging.
And he was literally jumping out of a tree, showing how this harness would catch you. Well, we were intrigued by that because safety is such a critical part of any tree stand.
Keith's flamboyant performances sold a lot of harnesses at these shows and became his defining trademark. Consequently, Keith's product became an instant hit among hunters and wowed the entire outdoor industry. As a result, he began building his 4-point safety harnesses to package with each and every Summit tree stand that left the factory. Then in 2001, the harnesses were such a success that Summit bought the business from Keith, and the rest, as they say, is history. As the seat of the pants harness became popular with hunters around the nation, its designer, Keith Jones, began to receive countless letters from hunters whose lives it had saved. For over 20 years, the letters have poured into Summit, all from men and women grateful to be able to return to their families after narrowly avoiding disaster thanks to a seat of the pants safety harness.
I'm Ashley Moore. I'm a husband, a hunter, and a father to 2 girls. Recently, I had a close call in the woods. I grabbed the first tree I came to. I started up it, about 15 feet up it. My boot was slipping out of my boot strap. So, like an idiot, I started kicking on the bottom of my tree stand. And in turn, I kicked the bottom of the tree stand out from underneath me, and it went straight to the ground. I immediately fell right through the tree stand, and the Summit seat of the pants safety harness caught me, saved my life.
I speak from experience when I talk about how quickly you can make a mistake in a tree stand, and that's exactly why I'll have a SOP on every time I'm hunting in a tree.
They're comfortable. They're easy to use. They bring me home to my family every night. I won't be in a tree stand without my SOP.
If you hunt from above, there is no way you should ever climb into your stand without wearing a quality safety harness. The truth is, it only takes a split second to have an accident that can completely change everything. A simple slip or momentary lapse of attention is all it takes for a tree stand accident to occur. Every time you use a Summit product, you can be assured that your safety is our top priority, carrying on traditions and building a safer future. Every time you use a Summit product, you can be assured that your safety is our top priority, carrying on traditions and building a safer future. From the very beginning, Summit and SOP were meticulously designed, crafted, and tested by true everyday hunters who knew exactly how their products needed to perform in the field. High expectations, attention to detail, quality materials, and superior design have always been what separates the Summit brand from the competition.
Summit is, without question, the leading brand in the tree stand category, and that's just a real tribute to the Waller family and their commitment to engineering, to design, to safety, to quality, and to comfort. And that holds true today.
From the very beginning, Summit and SOP were crafted and designed by real hunters who understood how products should perform in the field. Attention to detail, quality materials, and superior design are all things that helped elevate Summit above the competition.
We continue to demand flawless performance, reliability, and longevity out of every tree stand and safety harness that bears the Summit name. Hunters know that if it says Summit, they're hitting the woods with a safe and dependable product that will never let them down, especially during the moment of truth. We continue to proudly make tree stands and safety harnesses based on the original concept of simply putting the hunter first. It's just who we are.